Hey, what's up, everybody? I'm live here on DFWRadio.com. You are tuned into the Zhamir Watson Show. And today, for my final guest, I got the man with the plan, T. What's up?
What's up with you, man?
So, for years, since this is my last show, a lot of people was asking me, who run it, how did it get started, all this stuff. So, I'm going to let the man tell himself how I got started and how he continues to run it today.
Well, how it all got started was my mom had this vision. And she was like, and this was like years before internet radio.
Mm.
The only internet radio we really had was, what's his name? Howard Stern,
Oh,
Don Imus, that kind of stuff. And my mom just kept having this vision of, because she was fresh off of like, she had came out of radio and records.
Mm-hmm.
I had came out of radio. We both were at K104. She had went to a few record labels, just at the third. And she just kept coming up with this idea, like, of course, she's a marketing genius to me, but she's a marketing genius in real life.
Right.
She came up with the name, the colors, everything. But it took, I want to say it took a few years before that vision became profitable.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So what we were doing, we would just play a lot of music, and we were doing our own shows. Like, it'd be me and Kel, and we would get friends together,
Right.
just to kind of, do live shows. Get
Well, especially if it was still new American internet radio.
Yeah. It was still so new that we didn't really know where we were going. We just was like, okay, let's kind of roll with this and see what happens. Mind you, this is years before the term podcast ever existed.
That's all I was gonna say, because now you look at it, which I started doing. Now everybody pretty much almost kind of trying to. Anyway.
Well, not to say that we trailblazed anything of that nature. It was us, and there was another entity that kind of trailblazed it in Dallas. You see what I'm saying?
Right.
And it was like jumping in the ocean and seeing what happens. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, I ain't gonna lie, it's a scary feeling when you jump into the unknown.
Yeah, but we just kept plugging and kept plugging and kept plugging, and then next thing you know, you started seeing, like we was the first in Dallas to do it. You see what I'm saying? And it was crazy because we were kind of riding blind.
I know what that is.
Think about that though. You're doing something that never has really been done, especially in this region. Like internet, yeah. And
I hate to say it like that, but it's much more challenging.
And your urban station.
Right.
So it was fun though, but it was crazy. And it just took time, and then the accumulation of getting people in there, seeing who can do what. Then you start seeing people that you can look at and say, hey, would you like to take a bigger role and run shows and do this and do that and it just kind of snowballed from there. But it was, the first few years was rough.
Okay, so when you were doing DFW Radio, what experience did you have that played a big part in what you do now?
I was already a producer. I already was producing previously at K104. I had already been at K104 10, 12 plus years. So it's not like me and my mom came into this blind eye. We knew radio.
Right.
It's just that internet radio has different rules because you're coming from a corporate entity.
I was about to say. Mm-hmm.
So you're playing by corporate rules. When you do an internet radio, you're playing by your own rules. You see what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Because it's not governed by anything. You know what I'm saying? It's its own thing.
Yeah, and I think too that's why so many people have turned to internet radio, because they feel like with most of the media now anyway, like the news and the radio stations, everything is so scripted almost to a certain extent. Like you got to be told what to say and how to say it,
Yeah.
and if it's not in line with their views, then no, you're not.
Yeah, because for the most part, when you work for a company, you have to go by company policy.
Mm-hmm.
You're an employee. So there are certain things that you can and can't say, and you have to stay within guidelines. Internet radio, as you can see with Howard Stern, was like shock jock radio. You know what I'm saying?
Literally say anything.
And people be like, how can he say what he says? Well, because at that time, you know what I'm saying, it was the only thing of its kind. You see what I'm saying? And he had the following.
Yeah, and still does.
And still does.
And he still said what
he's still
right.
a legend. But our thing wasn't to say, hey, let's start a station so we can say what we want.
Mm-hmm.
It was, let's start a station
and speak truth.
And we can play the music we want without having a program director or a music director over you. You're your own boss, and it's new. Nobody's doing this yet. And at that time, really, nobody was.
Yeah, and then too, another thing I like about it is that it's not so censored in the sense where you can't speak truth about certain issues, like issues we be talking about all the time with police brutality. So you can't really be censored like you would on like a syndicated radio station.
Yeah, it's because with syndicated radio or what we call terrestrial radio, there's politics and everything. there's guidelines and stuff you have to adhere by. But with the platform that my mom put into motion, it was feel free, let your hair down.
Mm-hmm.
Speak your truth.
Be all tense and stuff.
And the beautiful part about that was that you could have shows come on that spoke their truths. Mm-hmm. And there was a lot of people offended by certain shows. Like early on when we first started.
Which one? Who?
Hey man, look. I'm gonna just say, we got the attention of certain individuals that we never thought we'd get the attention of with a certain show that we had way back. And we looked at it as a good thing too. Because we was like, dang, you got the attention of certain people, like, because this guy was like, he came on and he spoke things that he can't go to any other platforms and speak. Because he had his own show and it was so new and people weren't ready for that. Like,
wait a minute, so you gotta say the topic he's speaking on, but whatever he's speaking on, was it pertaining to something that offended like a public figure?
Yeah. It was people in the school systems that were getting called out for their corruption. Because you and I both know there's a lot of corruption that goes on in them school systems.
Yeah, I was just reading something the other day, but yeah.
With mismanaged funds and affairs and things of that nature.
From human trafficking.
And this is the crazy part. That goes from all levels of school to college on up. You see what I'm saying? But he was saying names.
Wait, did he work in the school system?
At a time he did. So he did. At a time he did. So he knew. It's not like he was blowing hot air.
But see that's the thing I like about this versus working in like traditional radio station, because like I said, when you speak in truth like that, people don't like it because it's like, wait a minute, you in the wrong arena, you mess with my flow. Versus them knowing what's going on, they don't speak on it, which technically it's kind of their job to speak on the things that go wrong inside, but they don't really.
It's called politics, because you can't just say things that you want to say without there being blowback. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? There are so many unspoken things that go on, and that goes in any workplace.
Mm-hmm. Right.
From a supervisor that might be messing with an employee that's forbidden, and they're doing it on the low. You know what I'm saying? So even with Nia Long's ex-husband.
Oh yeah.
When he was a coach with the Celtics, and he was messing with an executive's wife, things like that. You know what I'm saying? But this particular show was like, I don't care.
I see.
And and mom was like, whoa, like we've got the attention of so and so, and we weren't even anywhere on the map as far as.
But I would say that though, because you'll be surprised. Like on my Twitter feed, I've had issues with like even Trump supporters. Like when I speak on politics and stuff, like back in 2020, I had someone in the inbox and be like, "Oh, I liked you until you start talking about Trump." But then you claim you don't like what I've said, but yet you tune in every second.
Well, I mean, I call it the Mayweather effect. You don't like Mayweather, but you buy his fights. You buy his fights to see him lose, but he keeps winning. So either way, if you like him or not, he's still winning, because guess what? You buying his fights to see him lose, or you buying his fights to see him win, the fight is still paid for. Mm-hmm. So people will be like, well, you know, Zhamir, I don't like that you said this, that, and third. But see, that's the beauty of radio, because you're gonna have your people that support you and don't. But guess what? The people that don't support you, they're still supporting you because they're telling you what you said.
Right, and that's what I found funny, because like, I mean, they said they was inboxing me these long, and it was mostly Trump supporters. Sitting there like, I liked you when you talked about sports, but when you start talking about Trump, I got a problem with that. I'm like,
but that's,
really?
That's the thing, though. Freedom of speech is just that, and you have the freedom to not listen.
And like you said, shoot, now there were some celebrities that do follow me on Twitter too, that I was surprised. Well, it was through mutual connection, somebody I know. But that's what I like about doing it too, because like you were saying, the stuff, even though we said maybe controversial, it got the attention, which lets you know that somebody is paying attention.
Somebody is paying attention, because controversy sells. Even though you may not like it, it gets people talking. You know what I'm saying? He wasn't doing this to get people talking. He was just speaking truth. And
that's what I like, because I like people who speak truth and don't be so. And that's one thing I don't like about some of these syndicated radio shows. I feel like they want to say it, but they tiptoe, like you're saying, it's a corporate thing, so they have to be careful what they say. But at the same time, it's like, y'all know what's going on.
Well, I mean, if you watch certain shows, like, I like Joe Rogan, because Joe Rogan pushes the envelope.
Yeah, he's extremely controversial.
He pushes the envelope, but even still, he knows when to say when. You got to be careful, because
there's a time and place for everything.
Not only is your name and your brand at risk, so is your salary. If you look at some of these people, DJ envying them on the Breakfast Club, that's very controlled.
Yes, very.
Very
and
controlled.
You can tell.
And when you get artists on there like Kodak Black, who's just will say whatever.
Don't get me started on that. Yeah.
You're just, sometimes if you look at the faces of them, they're like, they weren't ready for that. Because that's not protocol like radio. You know what I'm saying? It's not something that, like, we've had shows before to where we've got into certain topics that it was like, okay, what's going on? What's going on with the signal? With the station? What's going on with this? What's going, you know what I'm saying? Like, all of a sudden,
right,
the station's, cutting out and whatnot. You can take that for what you want to take it for. But we was really on some deep stuff though. You know what I'm saying? So, and there's some things that I'm like, I even told you, we'll talk about that after the show.
Yeah.
Right or wrong. Because sometimes you got to know when to say when. Because you can say what you want, doesn't mean you always need to.
Right. There's a time and place for everything. Like, is it time to address certain things and time not to? Because, like you said, in this day and age, depending on how you dealing with people, I mean, it can mess up your life, like your livelihood, where they take away your money, your reputation.
If Kanye is not the poster boy for that,
boy,
between Gap, Adidas, Balenciaga, you know what I'm saying? Just those three endorsements right there alone was netting him over $1 billion, because the Adidas deal was $1.5 billion. But then whatever he said that they said was anti-Semitic.
Yeah, I can't remember what he said. I don't even know what he said. Honestly,
he denied that the Holocaust is real. That's gonna ruffle a different type of feather.
Yeah,
especially
something we didn't. Yeah.
So it just goes to show the consequences of your actions and what you speak. But he's also a figure like no other that we've seen in so long, that started up under Jay, caught Jay, passed Jay financially, dropped back there. You know what I'm saying? I'm like,
he did lose his billionaire status.
Yeah, but I mean, who's not going to be happy with $400 million?
I am. And to be honest with you, this is me. I don't think I'll be comfortable being a billionaire. I just don't.
Well,
because I feel like that's too much money.
It's not that it's too much money. It's too much responsibility. There's a lot that comes with being a billionaire, because now there really are certain things you just can't say, because of maybe the partnerships and whatnot that you have with certain brands and whatnot. Being a billionaire it's a responsibility, bro.
That it is.
How many artists have you seen say this? Man, this was a lot funner before I blew up. You know what I'm saying? I had more freedom.
Well, actually, who was it? Cardi, I think, said that recently, a couple months ago, where she said she missed her regular life sometimes because she feel like before the fame and stuff, she didn't have so much attention towards her in the wrong way.
Yeah, because right now, but let's say this too though. In the same breath, Cardi is the same person that runs to social media to air out everything.
And Lizzo.
That's my thing though. When you become a public figure, you become a public figure. So there is no privacy. So whatever you're going through, you know what I'm saying? The best thing to do, and I've always loved this about Jay and Beyonce, when have you ever seen them go to social media and say anything? When have you ever
But
seen
now I will say too, the thing about fame, when you are public, like you said, you are public, but at the same time, it's kind of like even with social media in general. You have to know how to post your business without posting your business. So you have to know how to conduct yourself as a public figure, even in public, without people knowing what's going on in private. Because to me, this is like Angela Bassett. She's another one where I feel like she always keeps it classy. You don't know anything about her personal life. She never goes so she don't say anything. Like the only thing you know is her work. That's it. You don't know what's going on with her kids. You don't know if her husband having issues, which we should know that anyway. But you just don't know. So she keep that completely. So I think she's a good example of being in the public eye without you knowing too much of the business.
That's how it should be. You have Angela Bassett, the actress, that's her brand, and then you have Angela Bassett, personal life. They're two different entities, and a lot of these actors and actresses, they don't even get their real names.
They don't. Just like Jamie Foxx, that ain't his real name.
His name is Eric Bishop.
Right.
So you got Jamie Foxx, the brand, and then you got Eric Bishop, the person. See what I'm saying? But when you sign up for this life, see, a lot of times people don't. What's the girl's name? Summer Walker is a great example.
Oh yeah.
Summer Walker, when she first came out, blew the doors off. Everybody loved her. Album was banging, just at the third, but she had social anxiety. And I'm like, oh, she was really bad at it. So much so that her fans was like, well, why would you choose this life in this profession, and you have social anxiety? And she
was it Keith Lee? I think got the same. But it's funny too because Beyonce the same way though. On stage, you wouldn't be able to tell it.
You know why? Because she's in her realm. This is what she does. But when you come off that stage, it's shy because see, she's protected. She feels protected on stage. That's her home. And a lot of artists are like, okay, I just want to go perform, do my thing, and go. All right, you got media. You got media you got to talk to, and that's the part that they hate about it. It's the business side of the music that people hate. I just want to do the music. I don't really care about the business.
And who was it? Dr. Dre, I think, said too, which I agree with him. The music is only 10% of you, 90% of his business. You have to learn how to, because you see what's going on. These executives, people are starting to see more and more that it's the executive labels. Like you look at what Tommy Mottola did back in the day. He did some foul stuff, and a lot of them learned the hard way. Like Michael Jackson, Mariah Carey, them learned the hard way, and they started doing their own thing, and they started getting back on track.
Yeah.
But you have to learn the business, because I know even my attorney was telling me too. We was talking about the same thing. You was talking about the fame thing. He was like, "Was Amir?" So I'm keeping it real with you. He's like, a lot of people are paying attention to what you're doing with these books and stuff. He said, "Are you prepared?" Because he said eventually your name is going to be kind of like Stephen King and all them. Are you going to be able to? He said, because you're going to realize everything you do publicly, it's going to be out there. So he was like, I was like, I know how to do it. I said, because that's the only thing about this that I'm hesitant about is my family. Because I don't want them to, because I've heard horror stories where they'll call your family, hey, and I'm like, that's why I'm having a problem with it.
One thing about you I can say is you've been mastering it for the last few years. I've seen it.
Yeah.
You're very private with certain things, and you're very public with certain things.
And that's what I was telling him, that I think I took pages like I said, Angela Bassett, where I'll let them know, like I'll acknowledge my father about what he's done, but they're not gonna know nothing about him. Like I don't want them to know nothing about him. So that's the thing I told them, because I know how some of these media outlets will do. They'll try their best to keep poking and calling and stuff like that. And I'm gonna tell them no.
You have to move the way that you want them to respect you. But what you can't do is you can't switch it up. Because once you switch it up, now they're gonna be like, well, you let us in on this, and now you know what I'm saying? Like now you feel a way about this. just be consistent. That's another thing about what Jay did with Beyonce. He groomed her as far as, you know what I'm saying, how to move in this game. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah,
That's why when she did 4 and she did that documentary, people was blown away. We had never seen so much personal side of her.
Or even when she did the one on Lemonade. Like, I was surprised she even went there.
Yeah, but there had to be a conversation between her and her husband, because that's not something she's just going to do without letting. And plus, I think that was something they did together.
Right.
That was definitely, hey, we're going to let y'all in. And what did people do? They ate up. They ate up. Because that Lemonade tour came in. I think at one point they was on tour for almost 2-3 years back to back.
Hell yeah, because when she came, because you gotta remember Lemonade came out in 2016. She didn't get off tour until like almost 2018 because you know they came out about 2 years later with a joint album.
That's my point. Is you either are gonna play the game or you're not. You get like Chris Brown has really struggled with that too. You know what I'm saying?
And I feel like they do him so wrong because my thing with Chris Brown, I like Chris Brown, and I think he made a mistake. But does he have to pay for the mistake the rest of his life, though?
Hey, man, I'm going to say this. It's just that about Chris Brown, what they don't like is, they're like, come on over. Come all the way over. He ain't trying to do that. He like this. You know what I'm talking about? If you read between them lines, like, come on, man. He like,
that was the other thing I was gonna say too. I can't really say Ray on the air because, yeah, I'll wait. But yeah,
put it this way.
Because I'll be like this: there were some people, I'll say in secret, had offered me something, and I said no, and they kind of looked at me like, oh really? So I ain't gonna say already who it is, but yeah.
So as you can see, in this realm of entertainment, there are offers.
Mm-hmm.
And with those offers, you know, and many people have spoken on it. It's no secret that you can propel your career almost overnight.
Mm-hmm.
But just like Morpheus said, red or green pill.
That's kind of how they put it. Not quite like that, but they do, yeah.
But it's the same. The analogy. It goes with.
Because what I will say is, I was really, I mean, of course, we hear the conspiracy theories and all that stuff, but it is real because I was presented with some situation. I said no, and they was like, "Are you crazy? You?" Because I think it kind of reminded me too what they had said back in the day about don't sell your soul for money because you have a lot of people out there. I'm surprised that they will do that just to, like you said, the overnight success.
Well, but it's also. You're being preyed upon. Somebody sees something that's lacking in your life. Okay, this dude could use, like finances, whatever. And people jump at that because it's like, okay, instantly all my problems are gone. Financially, your problems may be gone. Mm-hmm. But then this door opens up for what do you have to do for this money? Mm-hmm. You see what I'm saying?
It's always a catch to something. That's what people don't realize.
Look, nothing in life is free. Mm-hmm. I've always said that. Look, Zhamir, if I was to offer you $2 million, and you'd be like, for what? What's
right? I'd be like, what?
You're just a good dude. You'd be like, hell no. Just sign this right? Nope. Because you're going to feel like it's too good to be true. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? So
that's kind of how they do it.
That's how everything is in life. It's like a lot of people would rather work hard to get it, and if they can get there and take the route without having to, you know what I'm saying, then they're like, cool. But then you start seeing roadblocks, you're like, this is a little more complicated than I thought. Because there's always somebody over here that's like, hey man, we can go ahead and make this easier. Mm-hmm. You've seen it right here, right? Mm-hmm. The devil and the angel.
No, that is 100% true because I'm telling you, just recently, I'm back in March, I had somebody had me meet with some people and I was like, this ain't my cup of tea. I was like, no, I'm good.
It's like this though. Hey, you want to be on that bestseller list sooner? I mean,
and that's really how they kind of put it. I mean, not just the bestseller list, but the whole overall thing.
And what that does for people like me coming up, and not knowing how the game was played, and then you start learning it, is that everything you see is not necessarily what you get. And it lets you know off top, oh, so the best, you ever said to yourself, man, whatever happened to so-and-so? I'm talking about, could nobody touch him singing?
Who?
But yet, I'm saying just in general, you're saying to yourself in general, whatever happened to so-and-so? I mean, voice like an angel, woo woo, but we ain't seen him. But meanwhile, Froggy over here is killing me. Froggy played the game.
Mm-hmm.
It's as simple as that. Look, I don't want to offend nobody, but to me, J-Lo can't sing.
Oh, you said J-Lo. Yeah,
She can't
at
sing.
all.
But look at her net worth, look at her career, look where she's at.
Mm-hmm.
Now, look at Tamia. Tamia can blow.
That's a real singer, actually.
Look at Tamia's career, look where she's at, but it doesn't matter because she has Grant Hill. So she kind of got she kind of got the cheat code. She kind of.
But I mean, honestly, even without Grant Hill, I mean, she wouldn't obviously be as wealthy, but she would still,
she would be alright.
Yeah.
Her projects wouldn't get the same backing. She wouldn't get that same Pepsi, Coke, Dr. Pepper endorsements. You feel where I'm going?
Right. I mean, it's kind of like, to me, no shade, but I feel like, to me, it's kind of like Rihanna. Rihanna cannot sing. To me, she's not really talented. I feel like the fact, like,
people will try to take their head off.
Wait, they gonna have to. Cause I just feel like Rihanna is nowhere near like somebody like Toni Braxton or.
But Toni had her run though. Toni had her run. Toni used to dominate.
She has what I'm saying, but I feel like they almost like try to erase her.
Well, with what you're saying, give you a story real quick. Give you some history. A long time ago, when Rockefeller started bringing in singers, they had two female singers. Mm-hmm. One of them's name was Tierra Marie.
Oh, I remember her. Oh yeah, they had like legal issues with
that. and the other was Rihanna.
Mm-hmm.
But Tierra Marie dropped first, and she had the video "Make You Feel Good" featuring Bleak, Memphis Bleak, and all that, right? And I remember the video. I was like, okay, this girl hard, right?
Yeah, I remember her and Rihanna both came out my freshman year of college.
So you remember?
Mm-hmm.
All right. So
they marketed them heavily at the time.
There you go. So you remember. But as time went on, you started to see one do this and one do this.
But that's because one challenged them and the other one didn't.
There was a video, and you may still be able to look it up. If I find it, I'm gonna send it to you.
Okay.
Tia Marie. Mm-hmm. And she's singing a certain song in this video. And the song she's singing is in reference to the industry and what she won't do. It's a church song. And when I saw that, me knowing what I know now, I was like, oh. See, as you start learning things, it's like, oh, that's why you don't see so-and-so no more in X, Y, and Z.
Or some as successful as some of the other ones.
Because you're like, Jasmine Sullivan. Not too many people can touch Jasmine Sullivan. Singing.
Well, she still sings and stuff. Just not as, well, she's not as successful, I guess you say, some of the other ones. But right, what you're saying is 100% true, and I'm telling you, that's exactly how it was brought to me back in March, because they basically told me in so many words, if you do X, Y, Z, we gonna put you up there. I said
that's
no.
The game.
And they said, okay, fine. Do it yourself.
And
I have no problem doing it because I don't want to scare nobody, but you can still succeed. It's just that, I hate to say it like this, but for some of them, if you want to get there tomorrow, you can do the things they tell you to do, but I just want to.
But just know this though, the part that I don't like about what you're speaking on too is you can also do it your own way. Mm-hmm. But if they see something in you that they absolutely love, that path can be hindered.
Well, then I will say this too.
Just because
they will keep trying to connect with you because
who are you to turn me down?
Mm-hmm, because they will keep sending emails and stuff.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So that's exactly right. Because Rihanna's not everybody's cup of tea. It's not. Mm-hmm. And then you compare it to Toni Braxton. Toni Braxton, I mean,
super talented.
I'm saying everything that comes with superstar, looks, voice, production, tour, everything lined up. And guess what? She just was victim of bad business.
Yeah, that's true. Because in the 90s, she filed bankruptcy.
In fact, if you look at a lot of that LaFace roster, TLC, it was a lot of bad business.
Well, I thought oh no, that's right. TLC was under because I thought they had issues with Diddy too.
So
yeah, they had some big financial issues. I remember that because that's why Left Eye went left.
But I'm gonna tell you, but during all of that, there's one person that was never heard of. His name is Babyface.
Oh yeah, well he was a smart businessman.
Anyway, but that's my thing though. It ties back into what we were saying earlier about Summer Walker and they love the music. They don't love the business of it. And when you don't know the business of what you're doing, things like that happen because if nobody previews you to what's going on, and you just see this contract and it's got some big numbers on it, and you have nothing, and you're like, bro, we made it. Yeah.
Because it was somebody else that got gypped too. And see, that's why I feel like Michael Jackson was a good businessman. And that's why he was able to maintain his wealth as long as he could. Because he even spoke about that a couple of times. Like, that's why he left Sony because Tom Mottola was trying to do him in. And then you look at Jay-Z and Beyonce, even though, people find them controversial at times, business-wise, they pay attention to the business part of it. Just like with Babyface. He was talented in music, but he was also good at business because he was like, okay, let me see what y'all got going on.
Because what made Babyface good was that he was on the check writer side of things. So he's like this, okay, we're no longer going to be artists. We're going to be execs.
That's what real money anyway.
So we're going to be on the other side. So now, instead of us being signed to somebody, we're going to start doing the signing. So what do you do when you do that? You have to go get knowledge of how do I run a label? How do I, you know what I'm saying? What's your man's name that owned, I see his face too. Puff's mentor, Clive Davis.
Oh yeah.
Babyface and them.
Oh, speaking of him.
They were around Clive and all that, and then you get certain info, you get with your attorneys and stuff, and you learn that side of the game. The average artist doesn't know anything about contracts.
Or business in general.
That's why when you see them just go to that last page and sign, you're like,
but see, that's the problem, and they don't. And I think part of it has to do too with who they surround themselves with. They get the right people who like attorneys or something like that who can read this stuff for them if they don't understand something. They don't do. They just so excited. I'm getting a record deal.
A lot of times, one or two things happen to them. When they come in, one, they can't afford an attorney.
Oh yeah, that's true.
So they'll end up using the label's attorney. That's a conflict of interest right there in itself.
That's almost like in a public defender defending a murder trial or something.
Or you'll just wing it and say, hey, you know what? I'll just deal with the consequences later. Man, that's 300-400 pages worth of consequences you ain't read. And you get so many artists that end up saying, man, I sold all these records and I'm broke.
Well, see, that's what T-Boz said. She said, okay, when they signed their contract, she said they would get their money and said that they sold, at this time, this is when Waterfall and all stuff came out. That was real big at the time. She said they only gave them $75,000 a piece. She was like, wait, what? We done sold 10 million records and this is all we get?
But did you read the contract?
That part. So it's kind of like, y'all kind of have to know. That's why, like you said with Babyface, and who else? Somebody else that took over the business part. Or even Dr. Dre. They started focusing on the business part more than the music because they realized this is where the real money is and this is where you have to pay attention to how people break down your expenses.
And what I don't like about with the Dre situation, as much as I'm a Dre fan, being a producer and loving his work, I don't like how the transition goes. You got screwed, so I'm gonna do some screwing too. Because the way that he got screwed with Ruthless through Eazy-E, you see what I'm saying?
Oh, yeah.
And then he goes to Death Row, and then he leaves Death Row because of what? Well, there's a myriad of reasons, though.
Right.
He got his money, but then when he goes to Aftermath, his latest situation, you hear whispers about these artists, and there's a particular artist named Hitman, and I saw the interview, and shout out to Ben Baller. He's like, man, right now, Hitman was a part of one of Dre's biggest selling albums, and he works at Guitar Center. Because he signed one of the worst. They said he signed one of the worst deals in the history of music. You see what I'm saying? Think about that. You were a part, even with Snoop. When Snoop left Death Row, he was broke. A lot of people don't know that.
Nah, I didn't know that either.
So he went to Master P, went down south, and he was like, when P saw him in the studio, he was like, hey man, you know, XYZ War, and he's about to feature on one of the songs for No Limit. Mm-hmm. And he tells the story himself. And he said, P asked me, well, you know, how much for the feature? Snoop told him 15. He was like, I bet. He said, I think, if not the same day, the next day, Master P had a check for him for $15,000. Snoop said, I was talking about $1,500 just to put something. He was like, just to put something in my pockets and something in my stomach, you know.
But believe it or not, he's another one too that sustained financially all these years. Even though he ain't made music in like 20-some years, but what was it back in 2018 when they was doing all these networks, all this stuff like that? He was like, how Master P got that much money? He ain't made no music. But I'm like, y'all. I think he got a degree in business anyway. Like he knew how to maintain his.
What Master P was doing was this though. Back when I was still at K104, Greg Street would have all the artists come in, X, Y, and Z, whatever. Mm-hmm. And there was a guy named, shout out to Mr. Servon, and there was another artist, I forgot his name, but he was speaking about how that whole no limit situation worked. He was like, basically what happens is you get to choose a house of your liking, and you get to choose 2 cars, and you get some jewelry. Mm-hmm. He was like, we up here just signing our contracts, we happy, throw on our Rolex, our chain, jump on our vet, go to our house. He was like, but what we didn't understand was within those contracts, you didn't own those homes or those cars. Those were all leases and rentals and whatnot. They was like, P owned all of that. And there's a word in those contracts called recoupment. So everything that you chose gets recouped out of that contract, out of your record sales. So if you have $400,000 and $500,000 in debt from the house, the car, this, and you ain't sold one record yet, who do you think gets paid first when you start selling records? The label. And if they give you a monthly per diem, let's say your monthly per diem is $2,500, that's coming out your behind too. And he was like, bro, we're just some young kids from the projects that didn't know any better. Yep. He said, we've never seen this kind of money in our life. And we signed these deals, the same deals that Suge had Pac sign. When Pac, I don't know if you remember though, Pac did an interview with 2020?
Yeah, he did one with 2020.
Years ago, he started talking. And he was saying, this Rolls Royce, I don't own this, that mansion in the hills, that ain't mine. He was going off. He started seeing what was really going on.
See, he was one of the few back in the day that kind of caught on real quick, though.
He saw what was going on.
Yeah, a lot of people didn't. Because they were so tied up in the fame and the temporary
Think
money.
about this, though. Think about this. If every time you start asking questions about your money and your royalties, and I give you $200,000-$300,000, that's gonna work those first few times. You know what I'm saying? You be like,
especially if you just come out of a bad situation.
You're like, okay, well, okay, all right, I'm good, because I got you out of jail. I think the bail was like, I think it was $4 million or something. Got you out of jail, flew you straight to California. We start working the album, put some money in your pockets, put you up in the Hollywood Hills mansion, got you in, all these nice cars and whatnot. So right now you're feeling good about yourself because you just came from prison. Mm-hmm. You're not really thinking about the business side of it because everything is moving so fast.
Or especially if you put your trust in somebody who you think knew the business.
Well,
anyway.
You're looking at somebody that just got you out of prison. You're like, man, I'm almost indebted to you for the rest of my life. Thank you. So that kind of conditioning on the mind is like, man, I just came from this to this. I'm in the studio with Dr. Dre. We about to drop the single. We shooting the video in the desert. Chris Tucker's in the video. Dog, that money has a way of blinding you. All you know is, man, I'm good. Until that album sells 10 million, And then you're looking like, this math ain't math, bro.
I'm telling you, because
We sold 10 mil. What's going on? Where the money at?
and it's kind of like I try to explain to people about the publishing world, because like people was asking me, what book company you go through, and I had a book offer from Simon & Schuster back in 2020, but when I was speaking to them, kind of what you were just talking about, they said they looked at me crazy. I was going through all 23 of them pages. I'm like, because in long story short, if the book would have sold really well, they would have gotten about, I think, like 6% of it, only get 40%. No, that wouldn't work for me, because I'm like, if I'm doing all the work, I get it, y'all marketing all this stuff, why are you getting the bigger cut?
Because they are the machine that makes it visible for your book to be seen.
Right.
And they say, without the machine behind you and the visibility, you wouldn't have sold as many copies without us.
Right.
So that's
So
the line.
I had to tell people, the kind of what you said, you have to learn the business. So I said, okay, I'm gonna fix y'all. So I showed them that now my book is in Barnes and Noble and competing with the big books they market and stuff. But I told them you have to really study and all this stuff, because I had to, I wrote and all this stuff and edit and all this stuff, but you have to really study the business and learn how it works, because I wouldn't be able to get into Barnes and Noble if it wasn't for that, because everything you said is set up where, like, even when you get those advances, if you get an advance from a traditional book company, I try to explain this to people, like, very few people have done it, but if they give you an advance that was, we're going to give you like a $5,000 advance, but we expect this book to do X, Y, Z within the first month.
Yeah.
Spell 5. If that book does not perform the way they do that, you have to give that money back.
It's recoupable.
Because
it's recoupable anyway, but you just wouldn't feel the effects of it because you sold enough books to where you don't feel
right.
it. So let's say they give you a $5,000 advance, and your book flies off the shelf and clears $100,000 the first month.
Mm-hmm.
$95,000. You're not gonna miss that $5. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
It was recoupable anyway, but
right.
it was based on if you sold this many books.
In a certain amount of
But
time,
when
right.
you don't sell that many books, you feeling that $5,000. You're like, oh man, they used the word projected. They didn't do what we projected it to do. So now, let's say they give you that big advance, $250,000, and the book.
And someone will do that too.
And the book tanks. Now you're $250 in the hole.
Mm-hmm.
So when you write that next book, that debt doesn't get wiped off. It remains.
Mm-hmm.
On top of, you want another advance? No, I don't want no more advances. Let me get out of this hole.
And that's why I try to explain to you about that. I mean, and I'm not saying it happens to everybody. That's very few things that happen. But my point is that doing it on my own has worked wonders for me and much better because I'm in control of everything. I don't have nobody pulling me out no puppet strings telling me, hey, do it this way, do it this way. And social media has been extremely impactful because of Twitter and TikTok and stuff. That's really how it all got started. And then too, word of mouth. Like people in the Dallas and the network here been spreading around and messing around and got to California. Now they want me to make a move about it. So you can do it. It just take a lot of work.
And for some people that are down bad, that may not have a job right now, that got some income coming in, those are the ones that feel it because they're like,
right.
damn, I need to take this deal.
I understand that, yeah.
Or somebody's like, you know what? I got all the time in the world. Financially, I'm cool. And those are the ones they don't like because they're like, no, I'm on my own time. I'm good. Mm-hmm. So I'm going to go out here. I'm going to do it the long way. I'm going to grind it out. And then you start to see the fruits of your labor and you're not in debt. You're not having any deadlines.
That part.
Because those deadlines, bro, you may think a year or so is a long time until that book ain't moving no units. And you're looking at, damn, I got another 6 months to make this up, to get them back their bread. How are you supposed to write another book and you got that pressure on you?
Yep.
You like, nah, I'm good. I can put my joints out when I want. It's just it's a give and a take.
Yeah, and that's the thing I like about taking that route because I move how I want to move. I control everything. And the only advantage I will say they do have, because a lot of more established companies, is the marketing power. Like, obviously, going with someone like them or what's the other company, Scholastica or something like that, their name, so people automatically recognize who they are. So immediately you put your book at this. Now you can still do it on your own too. It's gonna take a little bit longer, but it can happen. And but I prefer it that way because I don't want nobody trying to rush me to put out something. Because a lot of times I feel like that's how you get a lot of it don't be as good.
think about this. When you get that seal of approval, it's like a game publisher, okay? What people got to realize is, you get game publishers like Capcom or EA Sports or something, right? If Zhamir comes up with a weightlifting game, a fitness, let's say a fitness game, right? And it's self-published, so you're doing it on your own. GameStop's not gonna pick that. They're not gonna pick that up. You gotta work your way up to GameStop, saying, "Hey man, I see you moving some units. Now let's take that same fitness game that Zhamir has, and it's got EA Sports all over it. Now EA Sports that makes Madden and NCAA and all that, you got their seal of approval. They walk. That's a given that it's in GameStop and all that. You're visible now. You signed that deal with them, but that visibility, what's called P&D, packaging and distributing, and marketing, comes with a price. So now, and sometimes, man, people win. They be like, man, I can't believe, ooh, the game won, you won, and the publisher won. Nobody's in any kind of debt.
Yep. Now I will say this too. Now sometimes you do a partnership with someone too, because like some of these bookstores, because they saw how much traction I was getting with the book sales and stuff, a lot of them reached out to me and was like, hey, we saw XYZ, we want to know if we could come up with a deal. And a lot of them, some of them are actually good at working out deals, but they don't try to take advantage of you. And, but you have to know how to negotiate it though, because if you don't, they will. If they can seize the opportunity, they will try to do you. But so I'm fortunate I was able to do that with some of them too, because I was able to get to have books, half price books. I had a book signing there too earlier this year. They were selling my books, and then who else? It was another bookstore here in Dallas. But trust me, word of mouth get around fast by certain stuff, but you gotta know how to do it. And with Barnes and Noble, even though that's a big chain bookstore, I was glad to deal with them because they do get a percentage, but nowhere near what Wichita was trying to get. So I was like, I do like that.
All you're trying to do is figure out who to go with and get a fair share of the pot.
That part.
That's all it is. It's like, okay, and that takes work. It takes research.
Yes.
It takes time. People say, well, I'm gonna write me a book, and well, yeah, I mean, because you can fast track it, but I feel like if you shoot too high up.
I'm glad you brought that too. That's 100% true, because I've seen people say, well, I put my book on Amazon and it didn't do nothing. Okay, let me explain this how this works. Anybody can put a book on Amazon. That does not mean it's gonna sell. You have to, I said, because people keep forgetting kind of what you said about the music. Marketing is 90% of your sales. Putting a book, I mean, anybody can say, I put a book out there on how to cut down trees.
But you know what it is though?
Don't mean it's gonna sell.
They feel like because it says Amazon, it's automatic. No, Amazon probably has package deals that says, okay,
right,
we can do this, or this. You chose this. Because Amazon can be like, man, we can have this book blow up in no time, but there's gonna be higher percentages taken out.
Yep.
It's how the world works, man.
But that's the part, I'm saying, that's the part they don't read between.
And it sounds good to say, yeah, my book's on Amazon.
Exactly. I was about to say, because people were like, well, man, I put a book on Amazon, mine didn't do what yours did. I was going to tell you why I didn't do it. Why? You're not marketing it. Like, they're putting it out there for you, but they're not going to market it for you because you're not paying them.
What you're doing is you're putting it on there and saying, now work your magic.
Right. Exactly.
And Amazon's like, you didn't pay me, man. Like comes with a cost.
And then too, I feel like with stuff like that, you also have to get the right people, like with like Carletta, somebody who's a publicist who works in that arena, who's able to get that. That's another reason why I got pushed out so much, because you have to bring in a team of people who know what they're doing, that you can trust to market your stuff too.
And guess what though? They also cost money.
Yes, they do.
Unless you work out a deal and say, look, you're my X, Y, and Z. We're gonna draw this up in the paperwork. Because all you're trying to do is keep as much, I'm gonna use this funny term, ass on you as you can without everybody getting a piece of it. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, true.
Because you're already paying so-and-so a percentage. Now you got the Carlettas of the world to get their piece, and you can do what's called back-end deals, or when the sales come, you'll get, and they have to agree to that. Or they can be like, if they're big time, like, nah, I'm off the top with it. You're like, I can't afford that. So
now someone will tell you up front, yeah, this ain't gonna work.
Exactly, because they don't have to.
Mm-hmm.
You have to put a team in place. Look, I don't care how good you are, you have to have a team. Because
Yes.
you're one person. While Zhamir is in Washington doing this speech, Carletta's over here working a deal for you to be in
Yep.
so-and-so
This
and
is
X, Y, and Z. She deserves to get paid. That's a service fee. She
Mhm.
deserves to get paid for that. You know what I'm saying? So, and I've seen a lot of those business deals fall apart because it's like, for example, a lot of these YouTube stars, it'd be their face, it'd be their name, it's their idea and their brand. But it's not just you on there, unless you're the one guy that don't ever talk, the
Right.
black that don't ever say a word.
But it's just like even like I look at Miss Cheryl, like she has a full blown team. Like she got like even when I said the interview with her, I had to go through Ronnie. Ronnie's her like executive assistant with her. You had to go through a couple of channels, which I had a direct phone number too, but she had Ronnie remind her of the time and stuff like that. And then she has a team of people that sets up her flights and all this stuff. So
Yeah.
it takes.
And guess what? All these people get paid somehow, some way. We don't know how they get paid, but
Right.
somebody's getting paid. So when you release your first project, if it blows, that's a blessing. You know why? Because now you have the capital to be like, okay, it's yours, you know what I'm saying? Everybody's happy. But when you got that team together and you're struggling, and that's how you lose people, like, man, look, I ain't seen no money in the last few weeks. I see everybody else eating. Back to the YouTube stars. This is one guy, and then he got his team that be on the videos with him. Well, if you're at 1 million followers and you're getting those YouTube checks, you don't think that team that helps you ain't gonna be looking like, hey man, where's mine?
Oh, he wasn't paying them?
No, I'm saying there are people,
Oh, I was like, what?
there are people that haven't paid their people that be in those skits with them, or they'll give them what they want because the checks come to them.
Wow.
So think about it. You divvying up the money. It's $300,000. Well, I'm gonna take $285 for me, and I'm gonna give it this $15,000. Nah, bro. At some point, and we've seen it happen with Joe Budden in his first podcast. Remember that?
Yes.
What was that about? Money. You see what I'm saying? And there was a guy that even talked about $1 million worth of game. He was like, me, Wallow, and Gilly had the conversation about when we blow, this is going to be the divvy out. Old boy did an interview and said that didn't happen. He was like, them two, as you can see, and you can look it up on YouTube, when they signed off and Gilly's crying and all that, they signed their deal. Supposedly it was $100 million. I don't know. Gilly says, nah, I wasn't nowhere near that. What do you think he's going to say? Because he knows old boy, you know what I'm telling me? He knows old boy's listening. They cut him out.
And another thing too, I want to emphasize because people was like, when they saw me post about it, me going to Los Angeles to talking about making a movie, I did not say it was going to be a movie this year. It's a negotiation process. And I don't think people understand that either because when I go out there, I'm not going out there to make a movie. I got to go out there and talk to them first because with the pitch, because they said they want to hear a pitch first.
Of course.
They didn't say, come out here, let's make a movie. They said, come here, let's talk about it. And you have negotiations. And negotiations can take anywhere from months to possibly years if we both, can come to some agreement on how it works.
Some of these movies that are just coming out now, they have been working on the deals for 2-3 years.
Exactly.
And you're like, that's why they call it pre-production, post-production, all that, because it takes years. So when you're going out there, let's say if Zhamir negotiates a movie before the end of the year, that movie may be slated to come out 2026, 2027.
That part.
You know what I'm saying? So you're doing all the work now, you see what I'm saying? But you won't see, they're like, I thought you said, bro, we're in that, or it's done.
Mm-hmm.
Now it's on them to do what they're gonna do.
And that's why a lot of times on social media, I make sure I explain it because some of them, like, hey, I'm trying to make a book so I can come turn around into a movie. I was like, it don't always work like that because not all books turn into a movie. I mean, even some of the most successful books, they not even movies. I said, it's just ironic that this person who knew somebody knew mutually, they got it and they want to talk to me about it. But I'm like, it don't always work out that way. That's why I always say don't. And then I feel like some people get into stuff like that for the wrong reasons. They get in it just so they can try to.
Well, just know this. When you go out there and you have those conversations, it's gonna go back to that conversation of what you said. Remember that offer you said you had, you said, nah, I'm good.
Mm-hmm.
It can turn into the same thing. It can be like, okay, well, let's do this. Or let's do this. They'll always have that upper hand. And even with Ice Cube, when he turned down that role, it was $10 million because he wouldn't take the COVID shot.
Recently?
No, this was years ago.
Oh.
There was a movie role they had for him. He was like, okay, everything's set. Woo. Okay. He was set to make $10 million, but he had to take the jab. He's like, I'm good. You know why he was good? Because he's already good. Financially, he's straight. He don't need that money.
He's like multi-years.
He was like, nah, I'm good on that. You know what I'm saying? That's because he's worked his way up through those rankings of being screwed over by Eazy-E. See how that comes full circle? You see how that comes full circle? He started off on Ruthless Records, was the first one to leave because he was like, man, this ain't right. We're not getting paid properly. This is wrong. Everybody ended up leaving. He was right, but y'all was mad at him at first. Now look at him. He's in a position to turn down $10 million. No, I'm not taking a jab. Y'all can keep that. Now he got his big three. He got this. He got that. That's humble beginnings to now. That's a long journey. That's an over 30-something year journey.
Yeah, because I mean, and that's the thing people don't understand. Like, you really have to, like, I know for me personally, I analyze everything because I don't like to be gypped or nothing like that. And I just wanted to make sure that people understood how everything works. It's not as easy as people. I mean, it's not hard either, but it's not as easy and quick as you think it is.
So let me flip it back on you since we're about to wrap up. What does the future hold for Zhamir? Will we see Zhamir back on radio? What's your timeline? Because this is officially your last show, correct?
Right.
What should we expect?
Well, I will tell you this. You can expect me. I'm transitioning to television film because, like, when I go out there, I'm also in animation school, which is gonna take up a huge, especially when I go back in September. But I'm excited, but it's time consuming because animation is a process. So my professors there are connecting me to people over in Los Angeles too, which I'm not moving to Los Angeles. I'll be going back and forth doing stuff. So right now, my biggest transition is gonna be television film, but I will be back in radio. Not within the next year, but we'll see what happens down the line.
Okay, man.
But and then of course with the books and then all that stuff is
just know any new projects, hit us up, come through, and nothing changed.
Yeah, actually I think we're going to interview you or something.
Just let us know. Even if you got spot dates that you want to come in and be like, hey T, can I do a date? You know what I'm saying? Let me come in, we'll have that conversation. And we always got our doors open for anything that you do. We're going to support it, straight up and down.
Yeah, so that's what's next for me. It's expanding in a good way. I'm excited, but I'm probably gonna be tired because I'm already feeling it.
But that's what comes along with that journey, man. So for me, Kel, all of us, man, it's been a pleasure. It's been a pleasure, man. It's been a wild, wild ride.
Yes, I know. I can't believe this much time went by so fast. I was thinking about it, I was like, damn, I can't believe 7 years went by that fast. Like, it's crazy.
We appreciate it, man. Just, anytime you come back.
I will definitely be back.
Just let me know, man. And I appreciate the interview. You know what I'm saying? I appreciate you.
Well, yeah, I was like, you know what? Who would be the best person to interview? Like, I said, they would be the best person.
And I appreciate all the hard work, the interviews. Every time, even on short notice, you've been like, got you. I'll make it work. We do appreciate everything that you've contributed to DFW Radio because from the gospel side to the everything, you always made sure to be there.
Well, and then too, it's because I went through when I first came out here. Y'all were one of the few that I could actually trust and helped me and didn't broadcast to nobody and then stuff like that. So it's stuff like that I don't forget. So that's why, when I get to this Oprah status, I'm gonna get everybody a car. You're in the car, you're in the car.
You're gonna hold me that. So in parting, man, I just want to say thank you for everything. We'll see you soon, man. Mm-hmm. Good luck on your journey and man, just.
Yeah, I'm excited, but boy, when I tell you I'm exhausted too.
Yeah. That's a part of it. What's your last words, man? What you want to say?
Well, I'll put it like this: to be continued. And on that note, I'm gonna shut it out.